and or give Naruto a piece of the chakra and he can continuously need it himself and he can go back to his former glory.
Well, I don't think he'll ever be back to his former glory because, like, right now, Kurama is really small. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Irbal Sinergy, the shop. I'm your host, NG. With me, as always, my co-host, Irbal.
What's up, people? It's me. How y'all doing on this lovely day? Hope it's swell.
Thought you were gonna stop right there. I was like, usually there's something after the "it's a me" part.
Nah. Sometimes you just gotta switch it up a little bit. Switch up your style and your flows, arenos.
Did you know Mario wasn't saying "it's a me"? He's saying "Itsumi."
Yeah, it's a double entendre on the was it the size or saying super? Yeah, that's what I
Super,
want to say.
yeah.
Super. Hey, it's me. I'm super.
On another did you know fact, did you know if you ask McDonald's, they will fill a Happy Meal box full of fries for you?
I don't see why anyone would need that many fries.
Here's the catch. It's actually not a lot of fries. It's just two medium sized dumped in a box.
Yeah, that's still one more medium than what I need.
Bro, I need at least a large and a half.
Nah, I only need a large. Mediums. That'd be all I get.
If you actually still ate McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, medium of like anything that I would eat fries wise.
Oh.
Because if I go out, I'm like, yeah, let me get some medium fries. Yeah, I don't need a whole lot. Just enough to wet my palate from
Nice.
Palate Town, you know?
I could uh I could learn a thing or two from you.
I'll be trying to teach you, but you don't want to learn.
You right. Shall we
You
get
know,
into
that's
these flavors?
yeah, go ahead, dog. You get into the flavorino.
My flavors coming straight out of Jobless Reincarnate. And first of all, are you I know you were watching. Are you caught up?
I don't know, dog. I'm still on the first season.
You're definitely not on the first season.
Yeah, I am.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then let me just say the last episode was my flavor.
Nah, dog, go ahead and explain it for the folks.
I'm not
They want
explaining
to
nothing.
know. Dang. You got to explain. You just gonna leave them hanging like that?
I can't explain it. Too much would be given away.
Nah, give it all away.
Nah, I ain't giving nothing away.
Give it all away.
If you watched it, you know what my flavor is.
I don't. I don't watch the new seasons. I like to wait and let them build up for anticipation's sake.
I gotta watch Spy Family second season.
Yeah, I haven't watched that either. But yeah.
But I didn't see too much like reels about it when it came out, which was unfortunate. I saw a lot of reels when the first season came out.
Yeah, I feel like it's might be better to read if that makes sense.
A lot of them are.
Yeah, I definitely like reading it better.
I forgot you read ahead. That's probably why you had no interest in.
No, I did. I kind of read, but didn't read a whole bunch. That makes sense. Like there
Yeah.
was like it's enough. Like I read enough to stay current with the episode that was on, and then I just stopped. But yeah,
What
yeah.
was your flavor?
I don't think I have one this week. I might have a couple moments where I was like, oh yeah. Um, but flavors, I don't really know. Let's see here. Yeah, yep. Don't got no flavors this week. What a shame, right?
That is a shame. You usually have a flavor.
I know. I probably got some honorable mentions, or some stuff. I'm trying to figure out what did I watch this week. Hmm, yeah. Oh well. Continue. Go on and get into your first dealer's choice of some episodes.
All right. Well, I'm gonna completely botch this episode of Berserker Gluttony because I watched it 2 weeks ago. But
Why
let's
you just
go.
rewatch it again?
I forgot to. I'll be honest. I meant
Nah,
to. I
you ain't
told myself I
forget.
was gonna do it, and I never did it.
Yeah, nah, you knew you wasn't gonna watch it. You ain't gotta lie to the folks.
I ain't lying, bro.
You ain't gotta lie to the people.
I ain't lying to the people.
It's like me, you lie to the people.
Nah, man. But yeah, episode 9, the Guardian of Lust. Stop talking like that.
Oh, the Guardian of Lust.
All right, so start off the episode. We're at a gate with what looks like a whole bunch of merchants or bandits and
Unsavory characters is what I
yes,
labeled them.
some
Where
sketch
your past doesn't matter and your future doesn't either.
yeah, some sketchy people. But they need all the help they can get to deal with the monsters. So I guess the city reached out to anyone they could get their hands on.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they said. They were like, "Oh yeah, we'll forgive your past if you come contribute to this monster hunt. Monster hunt."
And Fate's like, it sounds like the perfect place for me.
Yeah, that's what he said. Perfect place for me.
Lady Roxy showed up to the city and she met Northern Alistair, and they went along with introductions, and the two people she's been, you know, mainly talking to got into their little bickering back and forth. We go back to Fate, where they come across a Scaber, and Greed like really wants it, and dude comes out from the shop, and he's like patting Fade down and whatnot, just looking at like his cape, and it's like, oh, these burns, they must have been caused from a fireball or something, maybe even hotter. And dude's like, oh, damn, you got a real eye for detail. Greed is like, we should buy a scabbard from him. So Faye asks the dude how much the scabbard in the window, and dude says it's just a display model, and that he'll make one that suits his sword perfectly. So he goes in, he examines Greed, and comments that he's never seen a one-handed sword like that. It's incredible. Greed takes the time to gloat a little, and dude said it's gonna cost around 500 gold, so they left. Too much money. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So then they go out to hunt monsters, and a group of people approach Fate, and like he turns them down, so they go off on their own. Greed's walking, and like toxins start to fill the air, and Greed's explaining like, oh, it's all the monster carcasses. It's they're letting spores into the air, and it's mildly toxic. And says I wouldn't breathe too much, or like it could kill you if you take too many deep breaths. Moss is gonna grow in your lungs. Um, said don't freak out. That this is just how Gallia is. A stampede of, I think it was trolls,
Orcs.
orcs. So oh yeah, I thought trolls because like they looked more appropriate to call them trolls, but yeah, they were orcs. And Greed was about to Fate and Greed were about to start fighting them, but like that other group joined in, and they weren't getting anywhere quick. So Fate took it upon himself to take care of the bigger horde that was popping up. He took care of all of them, and then came into the tavern with
I
two
wouldn't say he
bags.
took care of the little bigger horde though. Because initially my boy he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go fight these orcs," and then that crew rolled up and he's like, "Oh, I won't take their kills." And then that other group ran over, and he's like, "Oh, this is a whole separate regiment of two people of two groups." So he went and took those out. Um, but yeah, because his whole point was he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to count those folks because they initially approached him leaving the tavern." And he's like, "Yeah, I don't work with people or whatever." And then I think they seen he was strong, or they might have called him like a holy person. I don't know. They didn't want to like insult him with the garb or whatever. But yeah, so that happened. And I'll continue, sir.
I shall. So yeah,
Nope, don't continue. No, I'm
he
just kidding.
he
Go
takes on
ahead.
the second horde by himself, and he pops in the tavern with two bags full of ears and tries to turn them in. But then that group that like he tried to avoid came in and said, "Hey, those belong to us. Those the guys that would have turned to mush." Oh, Greed says like those are guys that would have turned to mush if he didn't interfere. So dude tries to snatch the bag, and Fate like puts his hand on him. It's like, "Oh, don't, you're not touching it." And dude's like, "You're gonna give that to us," and Fate goes like, "I'd like to see you make me." So then it looks like Fate like breaks his hand or something. So like they try to like gang up on him, and he dispatches those pretty easily. But then Lady Roxy shows up to like, you know, make whoever's responsible for the situation pay, and Fate in disguise explains that he was just defending himself and they came at him. So she said she understood. He only struck because they attacked you first. And then she like took partial responsibility for how they acted. The one girl that's with Roxy was suspicious of Fate and wanted him to take the mask off, but he wouldn't. And, like Roxy said, he didn't have to, and then said, told him to take better appearance. It's a bit distracting, and he felt a little embarrassed by how, I guess, ragged he looked. And that's when homeboy from earlier, the scabbard, however you say it, approached Fate and said like, "Hey, I heard you took out those guys. If you're a real adventurer, I'd like to sponsor you." And my boy got new new get up. Kind of like,
Good.
yeah, it kind of like reminds me of like a Kirito outfit in one of the seasons.
Yeah. Also, I think that's the outfit that he wore initially when he was freaking out, like, "Bring it on, more, more." I was like, "Oh, there we go."
Who, Fate?
Yeah. Remember in the beginning when he did that?
The one, the not the new one, right? The old one that turned into rags.
No, the new outfit.
I don't think so.
Hmm. It looks similar to me.
It could be. I'd have to like go back.
Yeah, you might have to go back and see one day.
But that's when he runs into Lust Girl, and like walks right up to him, calls him by his name, which I don't really understand like how she knows his name. But he's like, "Oh, I'm wearing my mask," and she knew my name. He's like, kind of freaking out about it, and she was just teasing him, not like in a sexual way, but like, haha.
I mean, you can tease someone without it being sexual.
Yeah, but like,
Oh
if you
man,
hear tease, it's,
I think make fun of somebody.
do you?
I do.
I don't.
That's because you in the gutter.
Well, she's the sin of lust.
Mm. I mean, you still could tease them without being lustful, but I feel like it'd be the other way around, as in people would want her and she doesn't really want folks. But anyhow, but yeah, I was gonna say I completely lost my train of thought. Yeah, I was thinking about the mask and how wasn't the mask supposed to like distort his face and just
Mm-hmm.
show a different face, but now it's like, oh, so it's a mask. It's like, how do you like it just switched up on everything?
I'm
So
pretty
I
sure
don't know.
that's exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, it was supposed to distort his face and give him like a different face so no one would know, but now everyone knows it's a gosh darn mask. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, go ahead and continue, sir.
No, because I'm like trying to. There's got to be a reason. Maybe that's just. I feel like that's just lazy writing.
Maybe it's like
It's lazy editing.
or it could just be something along the lines of low level folks see him as a person, but high level folks see him as a mask.
Maybe, and maybe they figured if they didn't address it, no one would question it.
I don't know. Who knows?
Certainly not I.
Hmm.
No, you know what? I think we're thinking of something else. Cause like, isn't that mask the reason they thought he was a lich?
No, they thought he was a lich because he was like killing all the orcs and just leaving the corpses and like he wasn't he was just like destructive and everything in his path was getting destructive and along those lines. Like I don't think it was because of the mask. Like people didn't know it was like a man until he came in and took the name and said, "I'm corpse."
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, continuing. Um. Okay, so during this, I'm gonna steamroll this conversation. I'll let you pick up slack because like I don't. There is quite a bit here to debunk, but like it's a little difficult to get it all during doing the 15-second intervals. So as far as I remember and what I'm seeing, Fate figures out that she's lost because of, like the slight like loss in concentration he had is how I'm gonna explain that, and like how he had to like pull himself away from getting pulled into her. Um, and during the conversation, like she mentions, I think that she is part of the first generation of the sins, and like Fate's obviously like a second or third generation, but she explained that like for reasons that like her plan set in motion and Lady Roxy has to die to for the better of the world, and like Fate is like obviously super against it, and she's like, you can't change fate, that's what's gonna happen, and it's that stuff that gives rise to it's that kind of stuff plus like the amount of energy that like the monsters leave behind that give birth to a crowned beast, and like all this stuff is set in motion. It's gonna happen whether you do anything not, and Fate like is defensive and said, "Screw you!" Like Lady Roxy is not gonna die. There's no world, there's no way. There's a world where her dying is for the better. She's a holy knight and she like exists to save people. And like the lust lady, she's completely unfazed by anything Fate has to say. She just says like, "There's no stopping it. It's already been set in motion." And Fate walks around saying he doesn't care who he has to fight. Um, he's gonna protect her, and that's the end of the episode.
End of the episode. Yeah, so yeah, it was pretty cool, I guess. Yeah, let's see here. Oh yeah, so I was thinking, with Fate's new introduction of a shield, I was like, what if you think Greed can go to a dual wielding mode?
Mm,
And I'm like, he's doing all sorts of weapons, so why can't he dual wield?
I don't think so. In regards to, I feel like if he ever becomes a dual wielding weapon, like the two weapons still have to be connected to each other physically. I feel like.
Oh, you put
So
a little
in a
chain between them things. You know what I'm
yeah, but
saying?
like in a sense, I like it would count, but like it would still limit you to like
Lemonade.
the change. I meant like if you did like dual kodachis or something like that, like you could always like throw one and it you know it'll swing that radius and you can pull it back with the other. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but that I don't know if we see another form of greed weapon this season.
Who knows? But yeah, also Eris, he was apparently she was keeping track of fate, and I feel like those people fated by the sins, they might have like some sort of like connection um where they could just like sense each other or follow. But I don't think fate could pick up on that yet. He might not have the necessary training or requisites. Cause there was a book that I was reading where like people like they always found a way to like find each other. They like attract folks. Oh, like JoJo does it too, where like stand users can always find stand users, and like there's no other like there's no explanation. Like they'll just end up like, oh, this guy he must be a stand user because like they always end up crossing paths. Like it's somewhat some law of attraction they have. So that might be why like the older generation can find those people. Because if you think about it, mine found him too, and she's like, "Oh, you're not hungry yet." The first time she saw him or whatever, and he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Oh, you know." So yeah, that was that. Um,
She also flat out said like, "Oh, I'm gonna give you the capotes," and then the next time you saw her was, "You owe me for the capotes. You took the capotes." I'm like, I feel like you gave it to him, is what I remember.
yeah. So, but yeah, it happens. I also feel that her plan wasn't to have Roxy die. But I feel like her plan was to get Fate to show up and help Roxy so that Roxy doesn't die. And
It's a
she's like, yeah,
possibility.
so go into motion. Uh, yeah, with all the anger and whatnot. She's like, yeah, we can get everyone together to do this stuff. So it might be a little bit of reverse psychology there.
It's certainly a possibility.
All the possibilities. But alas, we are going to move forward onto the wrong way to use healing magic. Season 1, episode 4. Rescue team member Usato. So, yeah, it starts off by the Demon King getting a report from his right hand woman, Amelia. And she says they're ready to march. They're about to get out, about to go open a can of whoopings on the folks of the Linger Kingdom. And so that happens. And then she gets talked to by another demon. She calls him the Demon Doctor. And his name is Hyriluk. It's a weird name. So we find out that he's actually the guy that created that snake that caused so much trouble in the forest. And it was prototype 72. Comes out a new prototype. And they're still talking. They're talking about the stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah. Linger has their own secret. Uh, I don't know. He said secret something. Secret weapons or something. I'm gonna just call him that. And he's like, oh, it's the kidnappers, which I thought was hilarious because they don't actually kidnap. They just grab their injured, take them on to get healed up. And she's like, yeah, the leader's dangerous. She just runs out there and just be fighting and just takes folks. So, but apparently she also has a grudge against Rose, because her master also has a grudge. Yeah, Amelia serving as vanguard. Then we get to the main story. Blue Ren is allowed to stay. He's gonna be part of their team. And for today's training, Usato has to carry Blue whilst avoiding attacks from crew members, but he doesn't know that he has to avoid crew member attacks yet. He just has to go up and carry Blue to safety because he's bleeding and he's injured. And Rose like, "Hurry up, your patient's bleeding out," which I thought was kind of funny. So attacks when crew members start as part of his training. Towards the end, he stalls out, and Rose comes up. It's like, "Hey, this is what happens. You push yourself to the limit at the during this training, and it's like a simulation of the battle. Like your nervous system is going to be shot, just dealing with everything. It's like something you just got to contend with and be cognizant of and aware, and all the other good stuff. She's like, yeah, you got to have the mental fortitude to deal with all of this and run through everything. And so then training the next day, he has to run through the town with Blue Rin on his back again. And so everyone's scared. They're like, oh my gosh, he's carrying a bear around. Oh no, what are we gonna do? No, they didn't really say all that, but they're a little worried until they see his uniform. They're like, oh yeah, he's he's on the team. No worries. So this is where we get introduced to some new characters here. And he gets introduced to the senior on his team. Uh and this guy's, I think it's Orga Floor was his name. And the reason why he's not doing that kind of training on the battlefield is because he lacks the stamina to do so, which, is a little sad. He also has a sister, and he chit chats. We found out that he can't heal himself, so I guess in this world, like, you can't do everything. And yeah, Usato, he's one of the rare breeds that can heal himself and heal other people. So Orga, he's mostly able to heal other people. Yeah, his sister's younger by 5 years. We see her a little bit later. And so he makes it to the capital and sees Unakami. And she's like, oh my God, a bear. Can I touch him, please? Let me touch the bear. And so it's like, oh yeah, you can pet him. I think this is my flavor of the week right here. You see my little star note that I thought was cool.
Still vacant.
Yeah, so he said, yeah. She goes to pet him, and he's like, yeah, you can pet him. He's nice and friendly. And then he's like, oh, the bear swats it away. And he's like, and he's like, oh, it must be because of your tainted soul. And so he goes to pet the bear, and the bear bites him too. And so they chit chat, leave the city. He talks about her hands, how they're like roughed up and not healed. And it's like, oh, you gotta take care of yourself. So she like healed some. And then he leaves the city and he talks to Rose and he talks about the resolve, like how he wants to be there and help them. It's like, when the snake came in, I was real sad and terrified. Like I didn't know what to do in the situation. And so he's like, yeah, I got my resolve. And so I think with that, he's gonna like train to do like physical attack healing magic, like Rose does. At least that's my hypothesis. And then we find out he has, yeah. I mean, because he's like, I don't want to be a burden and this, that, and the other. And he's like, I have to defend him on the front line. So I feel like he's gonna learn some type of defense, magic, attack, something. Um, but yeah, and then he found out he gets his mission to accompany his friend Inukami on her mission to train in the forest. So all in all, it's flowing, it's going well. Yeah, Blue he might be the fan favorite.
But a shucking job, baby.
Yeah, you shuck and jive. Yeah, shuck and jive.
Shall we proceed?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just kidding.
Kaiju number 8, episode 8. Welcome to the Defense Force. Okay, so
Force.
we
He's
start
right
off
on
this
the
episode
force.
with the vice captain ready to slice and dice Kafka, and he's in his stance, and he's gonna pretty much unleash his everything
There's
he's made of.
92% power.
And it's yeah, and as soon as he stopped, like he went for it, like he immediately cut Kafka's chest, and like he was in the sky, and Kafka turned out to be tougher than um
I
Vice
wouldn't say
Captain thought.
immediately cut his chest. I'd say he was slicing him up. But, he was ducking and weaving, shucking and jiving. I was like, ooh. Now, this fight was a good one, too. I remember seeing it last week.
It was a good fight, and like Kafka was
He
doing,
just,
he was doing good avoiding anything fatal, but he was still getting cut here and there. So like it's clear that
yeah.
he can't handle the Vice Captain, but like also he was telling himself like he won't make it through it if he doesn't take the like doesn't go all out on the Vice Captain. And speaking of like having to take him serious, he cut off like his whole arm and like side his shoulder open and revealed Kafka's core, which I thought it was kind of weird that he had a core because he's human, and underneath the suit I thought was human, because whenever he reveals his face it's like he's taking a mask off.
I mean, I'd liken it kind of to like Freakazoid, how like he just switched out, just switched places. But I feel like his core is just where his heart was. So he just de-kaiju's the part that he wants to see, or
Hmm.
kaiju's the part he wants to use.
So he finds the core, and Kafka obviously heals pretty quickly because that's within his realm of abilities, and he seemed to have gotten really well controlling his kaiju form. And they continue fighting. And Kafka, that's when Kafka has like realizes like he can't go easy on the vice captain, and that's when the vice captain felt like he might be that Kafka's at least a fortitude 8.0, which will make him a Dai Kaiju. And he decided he's gonna, I guess, pull out his finishing move, which was
Energy.
two invisible slashes, which cut off Kafka's leg, and then the vice captain used it as a decoy to get in close and really take a huge swipe at him. But like he turned the part that the vice captain's blade cut into like another mouth, and like bit the blade, and like the vice captain couldn't move the blade. Um, so that's when Kafka decided to put like I guess he went all out on the punch, but like he didn't aim at the cat. He aimed to like break the sword, and that's when he escaped.
Yeah.
Um, the vice captain reported that Kaiju number 8 got away. Shinomiya was, you know, a little. She was kind of soaking a little and like, I guess a little in denial. But like when he showed up and said like he's back, she must have been worried, and like he like started to pass out. Like she was happy. She felt relief. She was happy to see him. And Kafka apologized for letting Kaiju number 9, I guess we're calling him, get away.
Yeah.
So that's when Kafka went to tried to go see Ichikawa and Iharu, or whatever his name is, pink hair dude, and she made said like they'll be fine. They're starting to use the kaiju regeneration in the tech suit, and you should be worried about yourself instead. Um, the vice captain was soaking, and Mina showed her place aside and like took a picture and teased him about it. And she asked if Kaiju number 8 is strong, and he said he's assuming it's a Daikaiju, which would make the first one since the Fukuoka 5 years ago. So I guess Daikaiju isn't seen quite often, and he also like realized that Kaiju number 8 fights like a human.
Yeah, he said it felt all fighting the guy at first,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was like, yeah, he did fight like a human. That's because he is human.
Yeah, and then they revealed that the Kaiju number 9 has a human form, which caught everyone by surprise. And speaking of human form, Kaiju number 9, he was limping through a tunnel, and a dude tried to get him to get out the way. Which, if you're gonna be a dick and stop your car to tell him to like get out the way, there was plenty of road for you to drive around him.
Yeah, I would have driven around.
Yeah, but then he turns around, points a finger, and he eats the dude. So I get, and then like he turns into him and drives away. So it looks like Kaiju number 9 can just take whatever form he wants as long as
Yeah,
he consumes the person.
I feel like kaiju number 9 is a kaiju that could turn into human, whereas Kafka's a human that could turn into kaiju. So it's interesting. And I was like, oh, he didn't just snatch the body. He's a body snatcher.
Didn't I
Uh,
say something like that a couple episodes
um,
back when
I don't recall.
I felt like I did? Anyways, yeah, like that. I agree. I think he's a kaiju that can turn into a human because I feel like he'd be a little more understanding of Kafka being on the human side if he was a human who can turn into a kaiju, and just he decided himself decided he was happy being a monster, but accepted there were people who can do what he does that didn't want to be a monster and wanted to be a hero. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
But then he said he wasn't used to that body. He needed to remain hidden until he got used to the body. We shoot over to the hospital where Ichikawa's awake, and he immediately feels guilty for having making Kafka transform, but he also says thank you for saving him and Iharu-kun. But it turned out Iharu was in the same room, and they were like, "Ah, man, what are you talking about?" And Iharu's like, "What are you talking about? It was Kaiju number 8 that saved us, right? Why are you thanking the old dude?" And Shinua made up some excuse like, "Yeah, he's the one who found the reproductive organs that was a huge help, right?" And then Iharu goes, "Yeah, that's right. Thanks, old dude." So, um, then Iharu starts like appreciating Kaiju number 8 and how he knocked off number nine's head off, and Kafka was blushing, and Shinomiya was beating him for blushing because Iharu noticed. So like I feel like it's looking like Iharu's going to be the next one to find out.
it could happen. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Um, they get back and they have a welcome back celebration with a cake, and turns out that the green hair dude is from a wealthy family. He's like the heir to the company that makes the weapons. Am I understanding that correctly?
The suits.
The suits, not the weapons. The suits. Well, it could be both. Um, and she was surprised that Kafka didn't know about this when he asked homeboy to put this whole party together. So he made sure he got the best, I guess, the best catering he could find. Vice Captain comes in and says cheers, and he's having a conversation with Ichikawa, and I read how everyone like Ichikawa was mentioning how everyone looked happy. Thanks for putting it together. And Vice Captain goes, "Don't speak too soon. The show's about to start." And Ichikawa was like, "What do you mean?" And that's when everyone starts fighting, and he's like, "This." I guess it's like just a normal occurrence, but he's like, everyone everyone wants to get stronger, and they're like they were all going over like the mistakes they made and what they could have done different. And you see Kafka and the other dude having a arm wrestling contest because the young guy says, "I only respect people who are stronger than me," and Kafka got destroyed in arm wrestling. Green hair dude and the other strong guy was just arm wrestling. Kafka had like a little moment where like it was silent, but you could tell his respect there. The vice captain calls on Kafka and tells him he has an announcement. Says he saved a lot of lives during his mission and it got him noticed. As of right now, he's on a defense force, and everyone celebrated with him, tossed in the air, did the yip yip hooray. Um, Mina congratulated Kafka, and she said, "You're still a long way from being able to fight by my side." And he realizes she remembers, so like he declares it again, but like says her name. So she makes him do 50 push-ups, and but like she smiles in the process. Go fast forward a little bit. Kafka's studying out late because I guess he just wants to keep up and feels like he's behind everyone, which he doesn't really have much compatibility with the suit. So that's might be what he's doing. When he's ready to lock up, he goes out and notices that the training room is the light is on. So he figures someone must have left it on, but it was actually the vice captain in there practicing with you can see his killer intent, and he was, and for lack of a better word, it was like he was almost shadowboxing Kaiju number 8.
Mental image training.
Yes, mental image training, which I learned in Baki. I don't know why I couldn't.
Actually, Dragon Ball Z did it too.
Did they?
Yeah, they
Against
did.
who?
Gohan does it fighting. Yeah, who fights the second time? I think I remember. But the first initial instance, I remember they were on Namek, and they were mentally image fighting each other to like train because they couldn't have the power levels up because they didn't want to get spotted.
Oh, they were even commenting on it, weren't they?
Yeah.
Which was weird. How do you know what the other guy did in his head?
Um, I don't know, but I guess if you're on like similar wavelengths, it could do that.
Hmm. But yeah, Kafka realizes that he's like doing the mental imagery training, and like
He's like, "Oh, he's playing our battle."
um, and he got like I guess just it like left him speechless and dropped him to the floor, and the vice captain noticed him, and he asked him what is he standing up for, and he goes, "I'm practicing for Kaiju number 8, so the next time I can slice him in half the first strike." Um, and said that like he screwed up from the start and could have chopped off his head right away. Then asked Kafka, or told Kafka if he'd used
Number
six instead
six
of
instead of five.
skill six
Yeah.
instead of skill 5, he could have sliced his core into ribbons. Man, this could have been a flavor, honestly.
Yeah.
And then Kafka freaked out, and his mental kaiju form freaked out with piss coming out of his nipples. And the vice captain noticed, like, you're getting way too scared. No normal officer could and he says no normal officer could handle kaiju number 8. and number 9 is probably as close to as strong. And so he says he's got to handle them himself. And Kafka like recognizes how amazing the vice captain is, and Kafka says he'll do his best to help, and the vice captain plays one, puts him in the chokehold, tells him like not to be cocky and get gone. And tells him you got the suit up to a 1%. You can have 1% of my expectations. Now get some sleep. And we see some flying kaiju with this weird reptile looking kaiju ready to descend. So I guess we're gonna call it kaiju number 10.
Numero 10.
And that is all for that episode.
On to the Boruto.
Take it away.
So yeah, Boruto. Two Blue Vortex, Chapter 11. So I don't have the what they called it, but I'll get to that. So Himurari, they're there. She like takes a spike out of Inogen, and I'm like, oh snap! And she immediately heals him. And so that was nice little flaves. And she's like, oh, you guys, you flee. They only want me. And Shikada's like, yeah, let's get up out of Dodge. And Chojo's like, no, we can't leave her. We can't leave her by herself. And this is reminiscent of when Shikamaru was like, we gotta fight him, and Shikaku was like, no, he's on a whole different level. That Naruto, he learned Sage mode. But yeah, that the chapter was called True Power. But yeah, he learned Sage mode, and didn't need no help. And Heart Himawari's like, hey, I have this power. I want to carry out the responsibility of this power. And so this made me had a little think right here, because I was like, she can already transfer chakra. And so I was like, what if she got Naruto back and she's able to jumpstart Kurama and Naruto, and or give Naruto a piece of the chakra, and he can continuously need it himself, and he can go back to his former glory.
Well, I don't think he'll ever be back to his former glory because, like, right now, Kurama is really small. And I think the only reason Himurati can, like, channel so much of, like, that power is because he said like he's never been with someone who had so much, I guess, synergy was the word.
Yeah, one could say that.
So like I think for better or worse, I think Kurama's gonna stay with Himurati.
Kurama. I mean, you don't even need, you just need a little piece, and Naruto, he could do the rest. So, but yeah, I was like, that's one way to get Naruto back in there. And so, uh,
But we still
yeah,
gotta
she
get him out
gives,
that other world. Sorry.
yeah, that's what I said. Like, if he gets some, so she gives him a two piece. The biscuit will come later. No drink. Popeye's biscuit. Uh, yeah, she starts shooting the tail beast bombs. I'm like, man, she already doing that. Naruto couldn't do that till like the 10th
Shippuden.
episode. Yeah,
Shippuden. Let's be real.
yeah. So it was yeah, she did that. Their two beast bombs collide in the air. I was like, oh man. And then he ended up smacking Himurari around, and he's like, oh yeah, I want to test my true power. And I'm like, oh snap. So then we get to Sarada's group where she's fighting the guy with the Chidori. And she's like, oh, that's fair to wound. Tell us what we want to know, and we can get you some help. And my man heals his arm. And she's like, how could you use the Chidori? He's like, oh, so that's what you call it. And he's like, that's why it's so hard to control, because in order to master it, I need those eyes of yours. I was like, ooh, snap. So then Konohamaru asks, what's your connection to Sasuke? He was like, I don't know. And he's like, I came here to find myself. And this is when the class rep was like, oh man, we gotta protect Sarada. Could I have an idea? He's here for her. So they go to fighting, and I thought this was nice too. That he expanded on the wind style Rasengan with the Rasengan barricade. I was like, oh snap! Look at Konohamaru getting up there.
Can work.
Yeah, so he put in work, and then so the tree electrocuted Sarada, and then ends up electrocuting the class rep. And I was like, oh snap! So then we flash to Kawaki chasing after Boruto and whatnot. And Boruto shows up and snatches Himurari right out the ground. And the little frog creature's like, yeah, Sarada's been spotted. She's on what, the symbol square, I think. And so we found out that he teleports using symbols, which I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So yeah, the frog stuff works out for him. And yeah, he swoops in, Sarada's in the tree, and he cuts her free, and it ends. I was like, oh my gosh, no! Let me buy 5 more coins so I can read the next one.
Do you think
No,
that if Boruto defeat, because it looks like he's about to fight Sasuke's tree, do you think if he defeats and like kills it, like Sasuke will be free from the tree?
I don't know. He might just be in a comatose state. Who
Perhaps.
knows? I never know anything. But
All
yeah,
right.
I'm
Well,
excited for that. And can't wait for the next episode.
29 more days.
I'm gonna break into headquarters and get all of the panels.
We'll
Nah,
get
I'm
it
just
like
kidding.
July 16th or something like that.
Nah, I ain't gonna do that. But yeah, excited to see where it goes to.
You got anything else, big guy?
Nah. Yeah, I got nothing.
Me either.
Yes,
Well, let's wrap this up then. Guys,
I don't wrap up.
oh,
I don't form tackle anymore.
I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, that's football.
That's going to do it for
Tell
this
you
episode.
rap, do the gator roll, baby.
I didn't catch that.
I said you got to rap, do the gator roll, baby. That's how they teach you how to tackle.
That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
Peace.